Well, welcome to another edition of the Mile High Real Estate Spotlight podcast. I am Brian Arnold, and I am your host today, and just excited about being here. We Rachael Friesen today is a local real estate agent here in the Denver metro area. And what I can tell you about Rachael is she is fantastic. She is phenomenal. She is amazing when it comes to working with clients. She had told me earlier today that she even specializes in people coming from out of state. So if you're somebody who is coming from out of state, and you are looking for somebody that can get you around in this Denver metro area, because we are kind of unique here. It's not like going to every other state. You know, not every state has mountain views like we have. Not every state has being up at a mile high and having to worry about altitude and how you're going to breathe and all those different types of things. We have different communities here. You know, when you're watching Denver on TV, you might see like the Cherry Hills area where the pro golfers come and they do their tournament. And then you might, you say, well, how far is it to the ski slopes, or how far is it to just go hiking? And we have lots of outdoor life here in Colorado. And so somebody coming in is going to want to be able to share those things with whoever the real estate agent is that you're working with, because you're going to want to get in the best place possible. And you want to find somebody who knows what they're doing. There are real estate agents out there that are transactional, and they're just worried about, okay, hey, the fastest we can get you in as quick as, and then you're in a house maybe for a couple of years, and not realizing that, hey, I want to be on the other side of town. Rachael also has a partner that helps her that grew up here in the area, who knows exactly where everything's at. And some people are really good at that. I grew up here. I was born here, but I did spend 25 years in Southern California, which means I know Southern California as well. But a whole bunch of development happened after I left. I've been back here for 12 years. But there's some nuances that are really cool about Denver. And so, Rachael, thank you for being on today. We sure appreciate you being on. She came on earlier. I had some technical difficulties. My internet went out. And so she's been so patient with me, and I thank you for that. So if you could share with everybody exactly how to get a hold of you first, and then we'll get into your story.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. Thanks for the nice introduction. So I'm Rachael Friesen. Friesen as it's freezing cold outside. I am from Minnesota, so that's some of my out-of-state history. But I can be gotten a hold of on my cell phone, 303-881-0062. Or my email is Rachael, and it's spelled Rachael, kind of like Michael. Rachael at jordanterrellgroup.com. And that's spelled JORDANTERRELL group.com.
Well, Rachael, tell us a little bit about the story. When did you come to Colorado? How long have you been here? That kind of stuff. And then, what, how you got involved in this whole, this whole real estate thing.
Sure. Yeah. So came to Colorado in 99. I grew up in Minnesota, went to school in Indiana, headed out west to do exactly what you were saying. I experienced the sun and the mountains and the outdoor activities. I actually was a social worker for 20 years. I had a career in social work, and certainly you've heard of it. People get burnt out. And that was my story in 2020. And a good friend, Jordan Terrell himself, had said you would be a really good real estate agent. It didn't take too much convincing. He had mentioned just a lot of my social work skills could just transfer. And here I am 3 years later, and over 160 homes bought and sold for clients, and just making my way in the real estate world. So, yeah.
Oh, I love that. And I want to kind of talk to you because I worked in homeless services for a while. I ran a 50-bed facility, and a couple of them, and that I was a teacher before that, and the transition into I both in the business and back and forth. What are some of the skills that you think we're able to transfer over from that career in social work and being with people? I can say one thing: you're not in social work if you don't like helping people. So that's one advantage, that's for sure. So yeah, what are some of the other skill sets that you counted on or can count on as a result of what you did?
Certainly a helper at heart. Like, I really want to help people, and that's what I'm in here to do. I think some of the other skills are just the generic problem solving, relationship building. I read an article, and I believe it was in the New York Times right around the time I thought about making the shift. And the article was from a social worker that became a real estate agent. And she was basically mentioning things to the degree of working with couples that might not get along. And she used her marital counseling skills, or someone who was having a hard time grieving the loss of moving out of their house. She used her grief counseling skills. And I'm like, oh, I have some of those. I can apply them to these situations. So I think I come across as being very empathetic, really good listener, and then certainly helping people manage their emotions, because real estate is a roller coaster of emotions, from start to finish.
Oh, absolutely. It's like everybody's the motion of being happy is at the end. The motion of being frustrated, and especially on the lending side, and we probably cause more of the problems than the real estate agent does, because we ask so many questions about your life that you go, well, why do you need to know that? And we have to say, because the person who's loaning you this huge amount of money, sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars, wants to know that before they're going to lend you the money. And so that contributes to, hey, when can I move in? And then the inspection, and then all those things. And so I can see how that would be just a huge asset to be able. Well, and here's the other thing that you may answer and say, yes, that's true, is just the patience. The patience that it takes, because in the social work world, you have to be patient. You really do, because, there's so many dynamics that come into play when you're trying to, help each individual situation. And so, and people come in frustrated sometimes, and hopefully in the real estate side, they're not as frustrated, but sometimes they get there. So, what do you think makes you, other than the apathy and the things, what are some other things of, I guess, the way that you handle business that makes you such an exceptional agent? I mean, you don't get to 160 transactions and not know what you're doing. So what are some of those things that you're able to do for clients that make you exceptional?
Sure, thanks. Well, I'm also a runner. I really like to run, and so I like to say that I pace my clients. So in regards to patience, I am as patient as can be. It's their process. It's me helping them walk through this experience and be on, the journey with them and help them navigate it. So I kind of bring out a bunch of P's here. So I definitely pace my clients. I would say I bring a lot of proficiency, right? So they really they rely on me to bring them up to speed on what's going on in the Colorado real estate market. And I'm very fortunate to have linked arms with Jordan Terrell so early on that I was his partner for a short period of time, of which I got to see a lot of repetition in the market. And I always joke that he had me on speed dial. I was there to help him with everything and come alongside to help with his clients, but I had him on speed dial so I could ask him lots of questions. So I got really good, pretty proficient, pretty fast. I think the other thing that I do then is I make sure that they understand there's a process there, and I've simplified it, because it can be really complex, right? Not only on the lending side, but the real estate side. There's a lot of complexities in this area, in this industry. And so I just make a process that's simple and I simplify it. So, and then in the end, I'm there to problem solve. It's not just easy. I would say that I make it simple, but there's a lot of problems along the way that just can sometimes be a small hiccup, sometimes can be a big amount of money. And I'm there to get creative and think outside the box for my clients and ultimately protect them and their biggest asset they're about to purchase.
Gotcha. Maybe give an example of maybe a couple of types of problems, not the exact, maybe specific problem, but types of problems that, our listeners could say, hey, I've never bought a house before. What are some things that might show up that I wouldn't even know unless I was part of this world that does this all the time?
Sure. I mean, right now I'm dealing with a buyer from out of state who's moving here, who needs to start his job in order to get the lending and financing, right? Because he's starting a new job. But he can't close on the house until he's had the job for a couple paychecks. And so it's a matter of just thinking outside the box on where can he live temporarily, because he hasn't purchased the house yet and he needs to get here. And so it's thinking outside the box on, do I know someone who has a rental property? Do I know someplace that is vacant that could have a short-term rental in it? This particular house that he wants to buy is vacant. So now we're thinking outside the box on how we can help the seller maybe have a short-term renter, him, actually rent the property before purchasing it. So it's things like that. I know the most common problem the buyers are experiencing these days are going through the inspection process. So it's negotiating what inspection items that they really feel they need to have fixed, and preparing them for that conversation when it comes to the sellers might fix everything, they might fix some things, or they might fix nothing. And so having those hard conversations are important, but then going to bat for them and negotiating on the things that are the mountains or the molehills they're willing to die on and really want fixed. And those problems that are on the front end that we're aware of, or on the back end, had situations where the seller didn't fix the items that were supposed to get fixed. And so again, had to go back and either use some leverage to not close on time, or ask for some type of concession, in a last minute amend to the contract so that the buyer could still receive that particular item getting repaired or replaced.
How do you help people get through like you said, the mountains that you die on, the ones that you don't? Let's say it's a roof repair, or the underground sewage that has some tree limbs in it when the inspector puts the camera in there, or radon or something like that. How do you help folks understand, okay, this is worth arguing about, like you got to fix this, or this is a trim on, a light or something that's got a canister that's broke or something like that isn't big? How do you help them? Because part of your job, I assume, is advising, and they're asking you questions. Well, is that important, or that important? How do you help navigate that?
I think it's all in the preparation you do with your clients, right? It's preparing them for what an inspection is. It's preparing them for what the inspector is looking at. It's preparing them for maybe some worst case scenarios. And then really bringing them down to, grounding them and saying, some of these are really normal. Some of them are really typical. And here's one I would be concerned about. And here's why I would raise it to a certain level. Most inspection companies will send a report that's, 180 point inspection. They're getting behind the walls. They're telling us what we can't see in the plumbing, the electrical, the structure of the house. And then when the report gets spit out, some buyers kind of have this like panic. Oh my gosh, there's so many items. And then to just kind of bring it down to, kind of a neutral ground of saying they're going to check everything like a mechanic checks a car. Don't freak out. And some of them are at a standard now that weren't when the house was built, like railings on the edge of, a banister that are now, they were 6 inches apart. Now they have to be 4. And my buyers are freaking out. And then we just talk about like, how important is that to you? And they're like, well, we don't have a dog and we don't have any little kids. The 6 inches is not as bad, even though 4 is the new standard. A water spigot on the outside of the house is probably the most common thing that's always dripping. But I just say 9 out of 10 of my inspections have that. So you guys can choose to fix it. And here's what would happen. The water freezes and gets into the house or the pipes or the foundation. And I'm no expert. I definitely lean towards the experts. And I say, that's a great question for the inspector. Here's what I know. And here's my experience that you benefit from. But ultimately just encouraging them to do their research and their inspection and their due diligence, and supporting what they want to, have in their brand new house, right? To them, it's their brand new house. So I support them. They're the decision makers. I just give them lots of options.
Which is so cool, because it can be overwhelming. It can be this, you look at 180 pages and go, I haven't even read a 180 page book, and you want me to read this about, the house, or, and as little as detail is, there's a cracked, cover on a plug. You go, okay, so that's 69 cents. That one I wouldn't argue about. Some of those things, and it's not always about money too. It's about potential things that could happen. You think of it like a roof or something, and then you go, okay, well, if the roof is already leaking now, what damage could have already been? This might be something that we need to walk away from. So that is great. As far as the Denver metro area, are there, I know we talked about this a little bit. Are there some favorite parts that you have that you keep going back to because they're such amazing areas? Or is it, hey, we just did a whole Denver area and we're going to find you the right house somehow, some way?
Well, I love the Denver metro area all around. And I don't say that because I'm on a podcast, but I truly love Denver. And I feel like I've experienced a lot. Even back in my days of social work, I did a lot of family visits. So I was around Denver all the time. Right now, I live in Arvada. My offices are in Westminster, but I have also lived around the Sloan's Lake area in West Denver, Edgewater, and Wheat Ridge. And so I think just knowing them a little more intimately in regards to the community and what the community is like and the events and even just the commerce and such. And then I have some kids in the Arvada area. So of course I know a little more intimately about the schools, and my previous job as a social worker was in the schools. So I feel like I have a really good handle on school systems in and throughout the Denver metro area too. So I guess I'm, a little more favored towards the northwest side of Denver, but I've sold houses as far south as Colorado Springs and as far north as Fort Collins, and enjoy dabbling in the foothills. So yeah, I'm willing to go anywhere. Just again, it's about the clients. It's not about me.
Yeah, which is so important, because we got to find in. So how do you handle it? So you get a client and they come to you and you take them to their first couple of houses. And they give you this list of all the things that they believe they want. And then you realize when you get in the houses, they start talking about all the things that they really want or the other. How do you navigate that and then go find them not what they thought that they wanted, but what they really want?
That's a good question. Again, it's all in the preparation. I love to meet people. I love to show them homes. That's the exciting part. But like probably experienced, some of the harder conversations still need to be had in regards to financing, but also just into like slowing down and strategizing. I love to have what we call a buyer strategy session or consultation session, where we can literally take the house out of the picture right now and just sit down and talk about your goals. Talk about your motivation. How long do you want to be in this house? Like, do you want to spend, a lot of time and money in it, or do you want to save money and do more traveling? Like, what are kind of the ultimates in those categories of timeline, finances, and then the criteria for your house? What are your must-haves? Like, you absolutely, yes, the hill you will die on, versus you would like to have them, but you can live without them. I tell clients there's the big three, and the big three are location. Once you find that location, you can't pick it up and move it again. But the bigger you throw your net, the more chances you'll have of finding the house that you want in those locations. Price. Now, price is somewhat a little more negotiable these days. So if you were in a range, right, we would be able to, the greater the range, the more chances we have of finding that house that fits that criteria. And then the house itself is the model. And there are some things you can change about the model. I've had buyers, get really stuck on needing 3 bedrooms. And when you really dig down and find out one of the rooms was just going to be used for crafting or a gym or an office, we can actually find a really comfortable 2-bedroom with a loft, or a 2-bedroom with a finished basement. And they can use that space differently if I really understand what they wanted in the first place. And then it's not like finding the needle in a haystack for 3 bedrooms when we can easily find one for 2. So I think really figuring out what model they want and knowing what we could actually change if we found this space they could build a 3-bedroom, or if they get really particular about a certain item and I say, oh, that's just a can of paint, right? Some things we can't always be creative and think outside the box when it comes to buyers sometimes thinking they want exactly what's in their mind's eye of the dream house versus what's realistically out there. And we know that right now inventory is historically low. So to find a 10 out of 10 is hard, but if we can find you an 8 out of 10 or a 9 out of 10, we can get you pretty excited and maybe change some things to make it a 10 out of 10.
And that's so cool. This is the first time in all these I've done that somebody said, what is the use of the rooms that you're going to do? Because that makes such a huge difference on, like you said, do I need a door that shuts in a closet if I'm using it to put my exercise equipment in, right? I don't. So, definitely people have talked about putting walls up, removing walls. Sometimes a loft needed to have 2 extra bedrooms, and saying, do we have the builder put that in? If it's a new build, or we just have, we do it ourselves for a lot less expensive if we need that bedroom. And then if it's your little kids that are 2 and 3 years old and you're gonna move, then it's like, well, they don't really need a closet, do they? They're not gonna be going in there and doing stuff. And so you have more space to put like a crib or a bassinet or something like that. So that is really amazing that you actually have that in there. What the market that we have now is been this changing thing over the last 2 years. You mentioned that inventory is pretty low. Housing prices continue to grow. I think they're not dropping. What do you see as somebody coming in maybe now from out of state or over the next 6 months? On our side, we're predicting March through May that rates could go down, but we said that last March through May, right? So they didn't do it for us. So what are you thinking, or what are you seeing trends are in our market right now?
Great question. I'm seeing actually a lot of lower pre-approved numbers for buyers. I'm seeing buyers coming out in like the 300s, 400 price point, looking for homes, realizing that they aren't getting what their friends got 2 years ago with lower interest rates, but knowing that they have more negotiating power, right? Because sellers are sitting on their homes a little longer. We're finally back in the cycle this season of people slowing down around the holidays. In 2020, 2021, people weren't slowing down. I was writing offers on Thanksgiving and selling homes on Christmas. And now they're actually slowing down. And so if you see a house for sale right now, they must be motivated. Otherwise, they could wait, or they wouldn't be selling during the holidays because they'd rather be, decorating or hosting or traveling or what have you. And so buyers are actually in a pretty good position right now to negotiate with sellers who are, again, most likely more motivated and their house has been sitting a little longer. And, when I'm sure you've heard this too, Brian, but what I've heard is that when interest rates start to drop, for every 1% the interest rate goes down, we're going to see 5 million buyers hit the market. And then there's that competition again. And then it's going to, drive up the home prices. And so if buyers can get in now and have, a lower home price and maybe a higher interest rate, but refinance later, then they can get in a lower interest rate. But they're kind of comparing themselves to their neighbors that had a low interest rate. But guess what? Those neighbors also had to buy at a higher price because they were in a competition a couple years ago. So that competition might be back here when the interest rates start dropping.
Yeah, it's going to be like a frenzy, and if the inventory is still low, then it's gonna drive those where. And one of the things that you told me earlier that you like working with that first time home buyer, and thinking about that first time home buyer, that makes it more difficult, especially if you're using the down payment assistance. And if they wait, now they're in a competition where somebody has an extra $30,000 or $40,000 that they can sweeten the pot on the deal. And then you see your first time home buyers kind of lose out on some of those deals because they're having to compete with somebody who maybe sold a house or has $100,000 sitting that they can use to negotiate with. Are you starting to see that where first time home buyers should probably take advantage of some of these opportunities and programs that they have right now?
100%. Years ago, you had to have so much cash in your back pocket just to maybe cover that appraisal gap, or if there was a difference in the value versus the appraised value. I'm under contract with a first-time home buyer that's moving from out of state, and they are putting as little as $2,000 down and walking into a brand new home. And, that's exciting for these first-time home buyers. I think the other thing is those transitional buyers that also need to sell are not stuck in a place where they can't write contingent offers. We can finally start writing contingent offers because those sellers are looking for a buyer, and you walk in and you're the one and only buyer, even though you have a contingency to sell another property. They're not feeling either pushed out and homeless because they couldn't, had to sell their first property and then buy. They're actually finding that they can kind of hold on to both in this market. I really like working with transitional buyers too.
I heard you say something in here that really is, I want to bring to the forefront. You said that you have a set of buyers who are coming from out of state that are putting $2,000 down. And you think of if they were coming from out of state and they were moving into an apartment, how much would they have to put down? Right. So it's actually, if you are willing and able, almost cheaper, or there's programs that are available that will let you get into home ownership, instead of apartment living. When you think of over a year time, and I say it's a lot, that same $2,000, if that's what they rented an apartment for, is $24,000 in a year. If they stayed in that apartment for 10 years, that's $240,000. Now you flip that over to home ownership. They put $2,000, their house builds an equity. They sell it in 2 years. They have more money. They have this ability. How do you sell that? I mean, how are you, when you talk to people who are coming, I think I might buy a house, what are you telling them that allows them to understand how big of a deal this is?
Well, so another piece is like, if they were to buy now with kind of the heads up that we think interest rates are going to go down, if they buy now and interest rates go down and that value starts getting driven up and the competition drives up, they're already sitting in their sweet house and they're appreciating from the ride that's about to happen in the next couple years, which already historically we ride a little higher than the national average in Colorado anyway. So Colorado is already appreciating at a bigger clip for some of the reasons you mentioned earlier, which is we have a really great climate. We have a very active, population on top of our really diverse commerce industry, economics, all those things are helping Colorado homeowners get into homes that are appreciating. And so there's no bad time to buy, right? What's the quote around when should you plant a tree? Yesterday, right? So
Yeah.
when should you buy a house? Yesterday.
Well, and to imagine what it would be if they wait, right? They come into town, they wait, they get an apartment, they stay there for a year. Now they go try to buy that same house that they could buy today, and it's $40,000 more, and they might have unqualified themselves out of the market, right? Because now, based on their salary and everything else, that might not be, like you were saying, there was, you had some buyers that, waited or whatever, and they weren't able to, or might not be able to get the same house, the same house that their friends got at that same price. So the amount that we as lenders can lend them is less because the interest rates are higher. And so now you go look for that $340,000 house, and your choices are super limited. What is, if I were to say we all have superpowers, things that we are exceptionally good at, things that we do better than most people, not that we're superheroes or we can, have a crystal ball and see, but what do you believe your superpower is in this world, in this industry here?
I certainly can't take all the credit. I do want to introduce my partner, Julio. I wish he was here, but Julio and I tag team. We yin and yang. I think we complement each other. He is a younger male version. I am the old, family, have a husband and kids. He's just kind of has a wife, does music on the side. We are a really good partnership. So I think our superpower is just that. We are 2 for 1. You get 2 brains on hearing goals and problem solving and getting creative and looking for homes. You get 4 hands in regards to just doing the work. And so if an individual agent's out there and they're unavailable, they're unavailable. But if I'm unavailable, Julio steps in. And when Julio's unavailable, I step in. And so we come together as a team to say, kind of like a medical team with a doctor, nurse, or, a specialist and a general practitioner. We come together and go, there's going to be 2 of us here to help you get through this process. And by doing that, we have kind of refined each other's skills and strengths so that we become better, as far as just the feedback we give one another, the way we process after we walk out of a meeting and going, oh, we could have done that better or differently. And so we just keep, sharpening each other so that we bring forth really timely communication and a seamless process. I mean, I'll go back to it, but I think whenever you can simplify something so complex into a really simple process, it benefits everybody, including ourselves. I pride myself on being really organized, so I love bringing that to my clients. And Julio and again, just the team that we bring forward with the organization just helps it all be a little more seamless.
That is so cool. And I find that at least the agents that I know that have partners that do like what you're doing seem to just tend to be they do better because they are better. They're the multiplication, the exponential factor of it's not just 2 brains doing it, it's the combined, which makes a 3rd brain, right? That just makes the experience that much better, the being able to feed off each other. So I appreciate that you're doing that, because not everybody can experience that or work with somebody in the way that they are better as a result. So that's super neat to see that. Hey, so we're running, we're kind of running on time now, and I've enjoyed this conversation, and I can't wait to see how you're doing. But I want to make sure that people know how to get a hold of you. So if you could say that one more time, exactly how to get a hold of you guys, and then maybe give us some closing thoughts as you can think about what people would want to hear from you.
Wow. Well, again, I'm Rachael Friesen. I work at the Jordan Terrell Group, and I work for Real Broker, and I can be reached on my cell phone at 303-881-0062. My email address is Rachael, Rachael, at jordanterrellgroup.com. You can also find me on Facebook and Instagram. Gosh, I don't know if I have any really great mind-blowing last things to say. I am growing a team. I am interested in helping mentoring other agents that kind of had to start out cold like I did 3 years ago. And I see the value of teams. I see the value of my partnership with Julio. I have since, taken a couple people under my wings and helped them just get more proficient and kind of get at ease with real estate. So even the Jordan Terrell group in general is growing. But again, now that I feel like I've become more effective and efficient and competent and confident, I can help others in the field, because I know that in ways that 2023 has been really rough for agents. And so I'd be happy to help those get ahead and, see where it goes. Like I had experience with Jordan. It was more like a slingshot. I got held back a little to help him, but I just slung forward with all that repetition and benefit from being so close to him in proximity. And I hope to help someone do the same for them.
Oh, I love it. So experience being the best teacher, being able to not only not just the experience, because I can see there's a ton of experience, but I can see ability to have that patience that you talked about. All those skills we talked about in social work, I can imagine transfer incredibly on helping somebody who's getting started, who wants to do this, who's able to come. And so hopefully they can contact you and come over. And as always, when I end these, I say, one thing is you can do this. Whether you're a first-time home buyer, you're a transitional home buyer, whether you're coming in from out of state, in Rachel's case, especially where she's super good at that, you can do this. The other part is you deserve this. We live in this amazing country that allows you to buy a home for cheaper than you could probably get into an apartment, that allows you to have this experience of home ownership. You deserve what our country has to offer. Please take advantage of those. But if you don't know how to take advantage of those, or even if you do, let us help you, because we do this on a day in, day out, every day, all day long, working with folks in this industry. And it changes so much. And especially over the last year and a half, it has just been this exploding differences on a day-to-day basis. And so if you're not in it all the time, get some help. Let us help you. At least have the conversations with us, and that we can do that. And so I hope that you get on the phone, you call Rachel, you let her know, hey, I need to talk to you right now, because I know you're going to be able to take me and help me and take me to the place that I need to be, because I want to experience this thing called homeownership. So thank you again for being on another edition of the Mile High Real Estate Podcast. I can't wait to talk to you on another one. And you guys have a wonderful, awesome, just incredible day. Thank you. This is Brian Arnold, and if you are listening to this part, you've just watched one of our episodes of the Mile High Real Estate Spotlight, where we've just talked to one of the best of the best. And I want to thank whichever guest that was here. They are phenomenal. They are amazing. They are the top of the top, the best of the best that are in our industry, that are here with us today. And so I encourage you to please call them, pick their brains. They work for you. They enjoy working for you. They are incredibly good at it. And so I want to make sure that you give them a call. So whoever you listen to, whichever one you saw that you were there, please do that. The other thing is everyone deserves a home. Everyone deserves a home. I say that at the end of my show. You deserve it. Let us help you do it. My goal is to make sure that we see homeownership. It just sickens me to see apartment complexes continue to go up, because I know those are people who haven't been able to make the call or figure out a plan. So let us help put that plan together for you. I have some websites that allow you to do that, and I'll put those in the bottom, but please do. I am a lender. I do work in the lending space. If you do not already have somebody who's pre-qualified you, I would love to be able to have that opportunity to earn your business and qualify you. My number is 720-682-2223. That's 720-682-2223. Give me a call anytime, and I would love to be able to help you with that. We also do living trust. And so when we think about an estate, to try to avoid probate and make sure that doesn't happen. So whether it's you, if you own a home, and you should have a living trust. And I will say that everyone, not just deserves it, everyone needs a living trust if they own a home. And then finally, just wanted to thank you for watching these episodes. And so please tune into more. Would love for you to see and be able to shop around. So thank you for doing that. Again, I want to make sure that you know that you can do this. You deserve this. and let us help you make it happen. You guys have an awesome, wonderful, awestruck, incredible day today.